Good morning, everybody. Nice to see a number of people from IT industry today. We will talk about building successful partner channels with Hans Peter Bech today. And let me share the webinar flow first. First of all, Mrs. Kamalı will make her keynote speech at the beginning. And I want to share my special thanks to her for her ownership and support for the webinar. Thanks a lot, Gönül. And after that, Hans Peter Bech will make his presentation about building partner channel, and I will try to ask frequent questions to him. At the end of the webinar, participants can ask their own questions to Hans Peter. And the session will be recorded and published on YouTube. Well, this is the overview about the webinar. Thanks a lot again for your attention. And I kindly invite Gönül Hanım to make her opening speech. Thanks.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here today. And dear Hans Peter Bech, Burak Neslitürk, board and representatives, members of Yasad, dear participants. Welcome to our digital webinar, Creating Successful Partner Channels today. Dear attendees, today we will have 1 hour webinar with Hans Peter Bech, who is a brilliant expert and guru of the software industry business development and on how build and manage partners channels effectively and software industry. He's most of one of the starters of an awareness of the software industry channel partner importance and how to structure and how to generate a structure on building channels for years now. He had a wonderful experience in Bech, and today he will be sharing vast experience of him and his successful story today with us. So software industry business development, building, managing partner channels effectively is the key success of software expert today for all the software industry. He also will be answering the questions on how Turkish software companies can find and manage productive business partners without large budgets externally. In this webinar, Hans Peter will be sharing his wonderful experience, and especially his experience we had passed URGE project with us. I'm sure he will be touching base some of the experience and some of the knowledge he has built recently. So webinar will give all the attendees an introduction and practical approach for designing and implementing productive channels of resellers. We trust this webinar will help software executives make better decisions concerning their channel strategies, their subsequent implementation, helping them on the route of market leadership. I would like to thank Hans Peter for being instrumental in organizing this event, and Burak Neslitürk for contributing to our event with moderation. I'm giving voice back to you, Burak.
Thanks, for your valuable statements. And it's very common, as you know, it's very common to use business partners in the software industry. If I'm not wrong, 60% of all IT products, hardware, software, reach customers through an indirect sales channels. When you look at some of the major software companies' partner channels, and here Microsoft is probably the best example, the benefits are obvious, I think. Through their partners, they reach very far into the market without even having to have all the salespeople and consultants to their payroll. Sorry for the children, he's ill and I need to host him. Sorry for that. It's easy to see the benefits of having business partners. However, experience shows us that is not easy as said. And therefore, in this webinar, we will discuss how to do it with Hans Peter Bech. Hans Peter Bech is the author of books, Building Successful Partner Channels, 5,460 miles from Silicon Valley and going global on a shoestrings. He has 3 books. You can buy on Amazon. And the first book is general principles behind establishing dealer channels. The second describes how to 2 Danish companies, Damgaard and Navision, which was acquired by Microsoft also, in practice built their dealer channels globally. And the third is about entering the international markets when you are not sitting on top of a large money tank. I think this is something what we need. Welcome, Peter. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, Burak. And also thank you very much for the invitation to Yasad, and for you, Burak, to hosting the show, and again to Yasad for also doing the production of this webinar and for recording it and posting it later on YouTube.
Very welcome.
I have been looking very much forward to discussing partner channels today, because it is certainly a subject that has the interest of many software companies.
Thanks a lot, Peter, again for your contribution. Well, it's a very hot subject. Also here in Turkey, where many software companies are looking for ways to enter the international markets. Before we dig into the details, how to build a successful channel of business partners, maybe we should define what a business partner actually is. What do you think? Yes,
that's a good idea. Also because my experience shows that people have a very different perception of what a partner is, and especially what a channel of partners look like. And maybe this is a good time to emphasize that in these webinars we're talking about business to business software. And that means that we are not talking about Apple and Google and Microsoft's App Store where they sell $1 apps or $2 apps. Nor are we talking about pure software distribution channels. The principles that we discuss in this webinar and also in coming webinars apply for companies developing business software for other companies. And it's software where there are some value add required to deliver the final solution. Now, whether that is done in a cloud-based software as a service format, which is sort of the norm today, or if it is still done in the traditional prepaid perpetual license format, that is not so important. So in this context, and let me show you the next slide here. In this context, a business partner is a company that it's in its own name and it's in its own expense performs certain tasks vis-a-vis your customer. So let me repeat that. A business partner is a company that in its own name and at its own expense performs certain tasks vis-a-vis your customer. And the words that I highlight here are in your own name, and they mark it in their own name, they do it at their own expense, and it's to your customers. And if we translate that, it means that they do not represent you. They represent themselves. You don't pay them to carry the product. They receive a discount or referral fee on the sale, and they are free to sell other products, related or unrelated to your products. And they're even entitled to sell competing products. The customer has a license or a subscription relationship with you, and at any time the customer can ask to be served by another reseller, and you have to comply with that. Yes, Burak, you had a question.
Yes, I have a question. Sorry for that. Certain tasks, you say, Peter. What kind of tasks you are talking about? Can you provide some examples about that?
Yes. If you ask the software company, then the answer is most often that it is all the tasks except those related to the development of the product. And that means in general revenue generation. The software company, the manufacturer of the software, usually wants the business partner to take responsibility for everything that has to do with business development, marketing, and sales. In this illustration, that shows to be a significant number of rather complicated and rather comprehensive activities. If you then ask the business partner, what will you take responsibility for? Then she will normally answer, I'll take responsibility for the implementation or the delivery. So the business partner wants to have the customer referred by the supplier, after which she takes responsibility for customization, integration, training, implementation, support, or whatever have you. So let's take a look at the typical value chain for business software. In this illustration, we have SPM in the circle in the northwestern corner of the illustration. And SPM stands for Software Product Management. And this is the core of the definition and description of the product and the go-to-market strategies. Then as we move to the right, there comes the work of formulating a customer value proposition. We have to define the ideal customer profile, and we have to do market segmentation. The ideal customer profile and market segmentation is actually the same thing, it's two sides of the same coin. We must always be very precise, defining what value we will bring to which type of customers. Then we need to develop testimonials from our satisfied customers to confirm the value claim. See, on this platform, you then need to create awareness. We now move into the marketing side, creating awareness and generating interest. We need to create awareness, we need to generate leads, we need to develop them into qualified prospects. And as we are at the very right side of the illustration, we will experience for strategic and mission critical products and for products over a certain price point that our potential customers will have elaborate purchase processes. And those we need to navigate. And that is illustrated by this little process in the right side of the illustration. After you have won the customer and you've signed up the customer, there will probably be integration, customization, onboarding, and implementation product required before the customer is in production and can get the value from the investment in your product and service. This illustration fits the vast majority of B2B software companies that lend themselves to the indirect go-to-market model that we will discuss in this webinar. The question we as a software company must ask ourselves is, which of the tasks in this illustration can we expect the reseller to assume responsibility for? And here I often experience that software companies in the process of building a reseller channel are somewhat unrealistic about which tasks they can expect the reseller to take on and carry out.
Well, at this stage, Peter, it sounds like there is a mismatch in the expectations between the two parties. Is that right?
Yes. Especially when you are a new company and you're just starting building your channel. Now, reconciliation of expectations is obviously always very important. And maybe I put it a bit on the edge here. But there is a big difference between whether you are a new player in a new market where you first must create awareness, grow revenue, and at the same time recruit partners to handle some of the tasks in these processes. Or if you are already an established brand in the market, and now you experience that potential partners come to you, they knock on your door with a request to sell or implement your product. Or the third situation, that if you want to complement your current direct market coverage with resellers. That is what we call the hybrid go-to-market model. Or there is the case where you go direct in your domestic market, you serve your customers directly in Turkey, but outside of your domestic market, you would like to build a reseller channel. So there are many variations. Now, we only have 1 hour available today, so we will focus on the task of establishing ourselves in the market and at the same time building a reseller channel. But before I start that discussion, I just want to go back to your first question, namely, how do we define a business partner? And fundamentally, and you need to understand that this is not a partnership. We say business partners, but in reality, it's not a partnership. In a partnership, you share risk, you share investment, you share profit, and you share loss. And with resellers, that is not the case. They resell your product. There is no joint business here, at least not in the long run. Therefore, I prefer to use the term resellers, maybe value-added resellers. It may be that the term business partner sounds better and you use that for marketing purposes, but in reality, it is a slightly false label. A reseller is, as we just mentioned, is a of us independent company that sells and delivers our product branded in our name to our customers. The resellers do not serve other resellers. That type of activity is called distribution, and that is handled by a distributor. We will not talk too much about that today. The reseller does not change our brand identity, because if she does that, then it is called OEM or white labeling, and that is something completely different, which we are not going to talk about today either. So the last criterion is that the reseller is non-exclusive and therefore operates side by side with many other resellers. Maybe not so many in the beginning, but over time more will come, hopefully many, many more. And let me give you an example here. If you have plans to enter the Norwegian market, which is maybe a small market, but it's a very pretty market and also very attractive, and you think that you can manage that market with a single reseller up there, then it is a different situation than what we're discussing in this webinar, because you then become strategically dependent on that reseller. Here in this webinar, we discuss the construction of retailer channels where you are not and do not become dependent on the individual reseller. There's nothing wrong with having just a few companies to serve your customers. That's fine. But when we're talking about strategic relationship, that requires a completely different recruitment and management format than a technical reseller format that we are talking about today.
Well, very well, Peter. So we are talking about recruiting many partners. It sounds good. However, is serving the market through many resellers an option that all software companies have? Can everybody choose that route?
No, not everybody can, and not everybody should either. And to explain that, let's take a look at your business model. This is the generic representation of a business model, and I assume you are familiar with the Alexander Osterwalder business model canvas. And for the very attentive participant in this webinar, something in this illustration will immediately catch the eye. There is something very unusual in this illustration, and that is in the channel building block. Because the channel building block has been replaced by an independent business model. This is your situation when you're working through a channel of resellers. This means that your channel is now controlled by someone else. There is an independent business entity inside your business model. I use this illustration to stress that serving the market through resellers is associated with cost, and it actually involves several disadvantages compared to the direct approach. Contrary to popular belief, it is more complex to serve the market via resellers. we introduce a foreign business model in the middle of our own business model, as shown in the illustration. The connection between our customers' value proposition and our customers is now defined and executed by one of us independent business model. So the disadvantage of this constellation that we lose control of all the activities that we choose to outsource to our partners because we do not have the management control over our resellers. It now takes longer to enter the market because we must now first find and recruit the resellers. We must have them onboarded. We must have them activated before we can win customers and before we can generate revenue. And we actually also risk being mispositioned in the market. You can read much more about that in my book, about the Silicon Valley book, where Navision and especially Damgard was facing that exact problem by being mispositioned by IBM, especially in Germany. So if we want to use resellers, we must now develop and formulate two value propositions with accompanying documentation. One value proposition for the customer and one value proposition for the resellers.
So it sounds like whether the indirect channel approach is more complex than the direct, Peter. Is that your opinion?
Yes. The indirect go-to-market approach is more expensive and it takes longer to get started compared to the direct. Basically because we need to know both how to get and serve customers and how to get and serve resellers. And because we don't get any customers before we have recruited, onboarded, and activated the resellers. And that takes time and money. On the other hand, and that is obviously the benefit of having a channel, the indirect channel model can scale faster and wider once momentum has been attained. But in the beginning, it requires a lot of extra gunpowder. An indirect channel is primarily a scaling instrument. And in addition, obviously, we must pass some of the contribution margin to the dealers. If we sell directly, we get all the revenue. If we sell indirectly, we will need to share the revenue. And depending on situation, we will need to share between 30 and 40% of what the customer pays to the dealer. Should we choose to add a distributor to take care of partner recruitment and partner management, which is very often makes sense if you want to recruit many partners, then you must prepare to pass about 60 to 70% of your revenue to the channel, because now the distributor and also the resellers need to be rewarded for their efforts. And we are left with just 30 to 40% of the revenue. That is obviously a big chunk of our business that we need to pass away, but it makes sense when it scales. And with that introduction, we need another illustration so that I can answer your question about who can and who should choose the indirect go-to-market approach. In this illustration, we have order size or customer value lifetime out of the horizontal axis. It's called deal size in the illustration. And up the vertical axis, we have the price and the value add. It means that in the southwestern corner, we have pure product sales, while in the northeastern corner, we have pure project sales, where your product is only a small part of the solution. So, selling simple and affordable products do not benefit from a reseller channel. The market can be served directly through the internet. If you're in the southwestern corner of the illustration, you have no incentive to use resellers. As we move from the bottom and up the curve to the right, to the northeast, more complex products that require more interaction with customers and individual implementation will make it more attractive to become a reseller. If you read my Silicon Valley book about Navision, you will get a great example of the logic behind how to build a successful reseller channel. Navision served a huge market where their product accounted for only 10% of what the customer paid. The rest were services that the resellers put on top. That could be other products, that could be integration services to other systems that the customers had, that could be training, that could be implementation, project management, and ongoing support. Once you got started, it was insanely attractive to be a reseller of a Navision type product. And as a reseller, you could live comfortable and joyful from just having one or two handful of customers. Now, when we get to the very top of the illustration, in the very northeastern corner, then the projects become very large and very complex. And in this situation, there are only very few projects open at any given time. And the learning curve for such products, for potential resellers, are both long and steep. There are simply too few projects for resellers to run a stable business. And the projects each become too strategic for us that we dare pass them on to a reseller. So in this situation, again, you go direct. I can recommend you to read the section about Epic in my book, Going Global on Shoestring. This describes exactly this challenge when you have very, very big projects that are only a few of them alive at any time. You as a vendor do not want to leave them to an independent reseller. So if I need to boil that down into very simple terms, then a reseller channel is most obvious when there are many open projects in the market at any time, where the customer lifetime value exceeds, and I put a number here, I'd say $100,000. When resellers can add value to the solution, when it's not pure resale, but there is a value add opportunity. And this is very important, when there is already an established reseller channel. The last point, the existence of a established reseller channel, is really crucial. Imagine you're a new company with a new product that needs to go into a new market, and then you need to build a reseller channel that is not there. Obviously, that is a very, very high mountain to climb. So to put all this down to one simple rule of thumb, then software for the SMB market, small and medium-sized business market, where the solution price or customer lifetime value exceeds $100,000 is usually well suited to sell through a channel.
Okay. Well, Peter, let us now imagine that we have a reseller-friendly product. Okay. So how do you get the first partners recruited? How do you get started?
If potential resellers are not already knocking on our door and asking for the right to carry our product, then obviously we must find them. We must convince them that we have a unique business opportunity that they cannot refuse or should not refuse. We should sign them up. We should onboard them and activate them and keep them productive. In my book, Building Successful Partner Channels, I compare this scenario to what we need to do to headhunt and onboard skilled salespeople. It's the same process. First, you need to develop a profile of the type of partner you want, the kind of partner you believe can sell and implement your product successfully. Then you need to find candidates that fit this profile. Then you need to get in touch with them and make them interested in the business opportunity. And finally, you need to choose those that you believe are best suited. Together, you must agree what should be done to organize and perform the go-to-market activities. And then you need to train them and make sure they get activated. And after 6 to 12 months, the first customers will be signed on. Only, obviously, there is a very big difference between hunting salespeople and recruiting resellers. And I wonder if you can guess what that difference is.
Well, you can hire the salesperson and pay him a salary, the dealer is not on your payroll and may not be working exclusively for you. Is that it?
Yes, that's exactly the situation. When you recruit salespeople, you can pay them a salary. You can lure them away by offering them a good salary. Resellers are not on your payroll. We even pay the salesperson a base salary and probably also a guaranteed bonus until she becomes productive. But resellers, they need to take money out of their pocket from the very first day. They need to finance the entire business venture. And that's why I talk about the partner P&L. And it's illustrated in this figure. In this example, it shows a cooperation with us, as a business software company. What that looks like in budgetary terms for the first 12 months. P&L means profit and loss, and that's often used instead of just saying budget. So in this situation, the red dotted curve is the accumulated operating cost. The blue dotted curve is the accumulated contribution margin. And the green curve is the net earnings. So the dealer initially invests in the allocation and training of staff and in various marketing activities. It takes some time before the first projects are in-house, and in this example, they get the first customer after 6 months. But maybe the reseller, does not make any money, any profit on the first project because there is a learning curve. And she needs to get to know the solution. And only in the third year will it become a gold-rimmed business case. So where you can learn great salespeople at high salary and other benefits, we must find ways to motivate a reseller to invest time and money in the partnership with us that may someday in the future pay off. Maybe. There is no guarantee. So if there is no pull in the market at all for your product, then I believe you will have to take some of that initial cost in order to motivate the partners to get started. Because in the beginning, we need the partners more than they need us. So we must both make sure that we have a partner with the right profile. Then we must also invest in the partnership. And this can be in the form of free training or co-financing of marketing and sales activities. So as a rule of thumb, resellers have a much shorter time horizon than we, the manufacturer of the software. And if results do not come quickly, then the reseller loses her patience and puts her people on other activities. Happens all the time. Therefore, starting up a partner channel requires additional investment and some patience.
Well, does it mean that it is not enough to have an attractive product? We must also have an attractive partner program, right?
Yes, exactly. We must have both. The reseller is typically very enthusiastic about our product, but it is the business potential that ensure that her patients stay and keep her going until the results come. It is the partner program that describes the terms and conditions and benefits that ensure that the reseller stay motivated and become successful.
Well, developing a partner program sounds like a big job, Hans Peter. What about offering the reseller a high discount? Will that motivate her?
Well, I often see that approach, and my answer is no. I don't think so. And you can actually read that out of the illustration here. Resellers obviously love high discounts, but in my opinion, it does not have a major impact on their behavior. On the other hand, it can be addictive. It can cost us a lot of money in the long run. The reseller typically has several swings and carousels. It means that they have several sources of income on which she can make a profit. We only have one, our product. I think it will help the reseller more if we invest in the relationship and thus each her cash burden in the beginning. And a good example of this is found in the American company HubSpot. That's sort of a marketing automation company. 10 years ago, HubSpot wanted to build a channel. And they invested real money in their first resellers. They co-financed the salaries of the resellers' employees who were working with the HubSpot product. And they co-financed the marketing and sales activities that were required to get the first customers. Today, 10 years later, where HubSpot has thousands of partners in more than 100 countries, the partner program looks completely different. Now there is a great demand for their solution. So today, a reseller needs HubSpot much more than HubSpots need the individual reseller.
Well, Peter, are there other significant differences between selling directly and then through the resellers?
Yes, there are many. And let us start with the fundamental one, the product. A reseller-friendly product should be the core of the solution where the reseller can add value. So in the product design, there should be thought about how can the reseller add value to this product. That can be customization, that can be integration, that can be building modules for the product. The more value the reseller can add, the better a solution, the better a business she can build on top of the product. Configuration, customization, expansions, integration, training, support. All those activities are attractive additional services for the reseller. A relatively high price is also an advantage. It is very difficult to find retailers for a cheap product because it requires selling volumes of the product, and that is not the typical character of a reseller. On the product management and product marketing side, you need to be more structured and have a higher level of documentation because your resellers expect you to maintain a statement of direction for your product. In which direction is your product development going? What can we expect in terms of new features and functions? They expect you to maintain a roadmap. When can we expect that to be released? And then obviously release plans which are very specific within the next year. When will what come? Because their business rely on your product. So they want to know. And they expect that you can deliver on your promise. They depend on you. So you must have a system to handle pre and post sales support. And especially when you're building the channel, because all the partners will have to climb the learning curve. For product support, the dealers typically have what we call the first line of support, while you take care of, or we as a software vendor take care of second and third line, where the third line is our development department. So you need to be able to intervene when support calls are used by the reseller as a training vehicle for new staff. That is something that we very often see. The reseller brings on a new person, and that new person knows very little about our product, so she keeps calling the support line with issues that are well documented in the documentation. And you need to be able to separate those type of activities from the genuine support requirements. Otherwise, your support resources will get exhausted. And then you need to be able to separate bug reports from requests for improvement, which is also very important. You must be able to do this in the direct model also, but the need for structure is much higher when the first line of support is handled by a third party. Another major difference is that the indirect model does require two sets of skills and two sets of value proposition. You must understand and master the direct model. And you must understand how to find, attract, and win the customers. And now you also must understand how to find, attract, and win and activate the business partners. It's a very common belief that if you leave the revenue generation activities to the partners, they'll take care of it. But that is not the case. It is a genuine misunderstanding that business partners are sales eagles. You must help them and direct them and support them in finding the right customers and winning the right deals. And to do that, you must understand how to sell the product, even though you are doing it through resellers. You also need to understand how to handle the resellers once the channel is established. That is, you need to maintain a partner portal. You need to complete regular accreditation of the partners. You need to run training and certification programs. You need to hold partner meetings where you bring the partners together and award the best performing partners. So you need a team of partner account managers who recruit and manage the collaboration with the resellers. And these are completely different profiles from the salespeople you would hire in the direct model. So as I indicated earlier, there is an additional investment in going indirect. But once you have built the channel, then it scales much faster and with less investment from your side. Back to you, Burak.
Yes, okay. Well, especially documentation is what we love in software industry, you know. I think it's a crucial point, especially we want to expand our business globally. Well, Peter, thanks a lot for your sharing, for your insights. And I think the time is almost over. We have a little time for the questions. Participants can ask their own questions from chat room. By the way, I want to share my special thanks to Sevilay Hanım and Güney Hanım from Yasad. They made lots of efforts to arrange this webinar. Thanks a lot to them. And let me check, is there any question over there? Is there any question? Okay. It seems everything is clear for all. Okay, great.
Oh, or it's a great starting point to start questioning. I think today was wide eyes opening. Thank you very much to Hans Peter for his privileged time, and thank you very much for moderating, Burak. We have long ways to go. I'm sure we will continue the series of strategy talkings as a starting point from now on. And we, as a Yasad, we're building cluster programs to make, right move and successful results moving forward, especially on 2022 topics and priorities. So thank you very much for your time, and great seeing you today again. I'm sure we will exchange more information, not only the questions, but more strategic way forward steps. Hans Peter. Thanks, Burak.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
All right. Thank you very much. We always get very excited. You are the hero of software export in this world. I'm not sure if there is anyone else has 4 books, especially on the software export, where we have some discoveries to, move forward our knowledge to you as well.
Excellent. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful thing. Thank you very much for your time again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Good day to everyone. Bye-bye.